This is something that I always struggle with my money. I also just have some like tax and CRA, Canada Revenue Agency drama that has actually become like one of my top financial goals. Hello, my loves. Today is going to be a super casual, chatty video. I am not feeling well, so I made myself a cup of chamomile tea with a little bit of honey. I have been under the weather for about a week now. I think I'm kind of coming towards the end of it, but I don't know, it keeps dragging on. So hoping the tea will knock it out. But I wanted today to just be a super chatty video. I don't really have it in me to plan out something super elaborate. It's a Sunday afternoon and I'm losing daylight really quickly, so we have to make fast work of this. Wherever you are, make a cup of tea, coffee, hot chocolate maybe. Get cozy and let's chat about life and money. Okay, so there are lots of things I want to give an update on actually, because as we're coming to the end of the year, it's just that time where I'm starting to think more about my money and my goals for 2025. So I do want to touch on just kind of like plans I have for my finances in the new year. And then also just like some life updates too, because obviously like money and life are super intertwined. So there are some life updates that have kind of like changed some of my money goals around. So we're going to talk about saving up for a down payment and how that is going. I'm actually going to give an update on my FHSA, my first home savings account. That's an account that we have here in Canada specifically for the purpose of saving up for your first home. So I'm going to give an update on how that is progressing. I haven't done a video on that in a very long time. I also just have some like tax and CRA, Canada Revenue Agency drama to share. And then we're going to look forward a little bit to 2025 and what's in store and just kind of how I'm like feeling about money in general. You know, money is like super psychological. Obviously, it's kind of like eating well. It's like money is simple, but it's not easy, right? Like the concepts and the principles might be simple to understand, at least the very like fundamental ones, like don't spend more than you earn, etc. Pretty simple, right? Most of us can wrap our heads around that. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy in practice. And we all have baggage, and I think we all kind of have like money trauma to an extent too. So so I kind of just want to chat about like my money feels right now. So stay tuned and please give this video a like if you are enjoying this. It really, really helps my small channel and it helps get this out there so that more people can see it. Oh my gosh, see, like my throat is already sore from talking. All right, so house buying updates. Back when I first started this channel, actually very early days, February or March 2024, I made one video talking about how I was starting to save up for a house, and I was using this first home savings account to do that. And it's funny, like I haven't watched that video back because I can't watch any of my old videos. It's like too painful. It's too cringe. So I didn't actually watch it back, but I remember talking in that video about how I have kind of like mixed feelings about buying. You know, it's just like for any of you who are in high cost of living areas or are from high cost of living areas, you get it. Like I am born and raised in the Greater Toronto area. And so buying a house, as much as it's like something I want to work towards, it's always just kind of felt like a farce. It's like people my age like are never going to be able to achieve it without like significant family help, which is how most people I know have been able to buy, is with, and like significant, I'm talking about the people I know, either their families bought their home or condo like free and clear, or they gave them like 6 figures of help. Like we are talking about not just like 10 grand, but we were talking about 100K, 200K, 250K or more to help with their home purchases. And that's the only way that the vast majority of people I know own houses. So it's the kind of thing where I started saving for it, but I was like, oh, haha, like I'll be able to buy a house when I'm like 300, cool. And I still sort of feel that way, but there have been like some life updates that are actually kind of making this goal a little bit more tangible and a little bit more in reach. And I don't want to go into the details yet. Like I will share as soon as like I have more clarity, But it's such early days right now. It's still very possible that none of this will happen. But just to say that the idea of buying a house has become more real. And it's something that I could actually realistically see doing maybe in 2025. And so because of that, that has actually become like one of my top financial goals that I'm prioritizing at the moment, which is not what I was expecting at the start of this year. It still feels a little surreal, to be honest. And yeah, I promise I will give you all the tea like as soon as I have actual details. And even if it doesn't end up working out, like I'll still tell you guys after the fact, like what was happening behind the scenes, because I'm super happy to share it. It just, right now, it just doesn't like feel like there's much to share. But what I can say right now is that the conversations I'm having with other people, because this does involve other people, so the conversations I'm having with other people are including the possibility both of staying in Toronto and then also leaving Toronto. So I can share that much for the time being. There is the possibility that I would consider leaving the Toronto area in order to buy and relocating to a new place. Still unclear exactly where that would be. Again, we're chatting. There's like lots of different options on the table, I think, actually, of places that I could end up relocating. So I will continue to share more in the new year as I have more details. But what this does mean is that in the last month or two, I have started really like supercharging saving for a down payment. Initially, that was something that I was kind of like, I would like throw a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there into this FHSA. It's a tax sheltered account here in Canada, so like why not? What's the harm? But in the last couple months, I have started contributing like a lot more aggressively, more so to this account than to my RRSP, more than I'm putting towards my TFSA, like more than I'm putting towards any other financial goal. And now that I'm debt free, I actually have a decent amount of like more disposable income to put towards my FHSA, because at the start of the year, I was putting a lot of money towards my car loan so that I could get debt free again. And now that that is no longer in my life, it's, oh my gosh, it's just like, I have to tell you, being debt free is such a luxury. If you are in the process of paying off debt, like keep going, because it is just the best feeling to be on the other side of it and to know that every dollar I earn can now just be used either for my experiences and my life and to fund things I want to do, or it can be used to save and fund my goals and to fund my future. And like that's such a uniquely good feeling. So I have been loving that in the second half of this year, that I have just had more money available to put towards my goals. And that means that my FHSA is a lot more funded than it was at the beginning of the year. So I actually have the numbers here just so that I can refer to them really quickly and let you know how I have progressed this year. At the end of 2023, I had $2,637.73. And then now, as of today, this was actually a good day to do it because it's December 1st. So I did my little net worth update today. And the account is now sitting at $11,999.31. Of course, the stock market couldn't be bothered to get it up to 12,000 even. So we are just shy of 12K in that account, which I don't know, I have a lot of feelings about. I'm actually really proud of myself that I've made that much progress in this account in this year, in less than a year. I think that's really good. And so I'm kind of proud of myself, and like $12,000 finally seems like not that insignificant an amount of money. Is it enough for a down payment? Like, no, but it at least feels like a substantial sum of money. At least to me, that feels like a lot of money. And so it feels like now I'm actually closer to being like, oh, 15K, 20K, 25K, like those numbers just feel more in reach now, if that makes sense. So like that feels exciting because those feel like real down payment amounts, like $20,000, $30,000. It feels like we're getting closer. So yeah, so that just feels like really exciting. And for those who aren't Canadian, basically when you open this account, you get $8,000 a year of contribution room over the course of 5 years. So it's a lifetime max of $40,000. So 2025 will be my third year having the account open, which means that my contribution room in total will be $24,000. So now it's my goal to max out my FHSA in 2025 as soon as possible. So like the earlier I can do that in the year, the better. That's kind of wild. I'll basically be like doubling the amount that I have in that account, which is pretty cool. And I think I will be able to achieve this goal like pretty early in 2025 because I should be getting a bonus in February. I'll also likely get a tax return again in March or April. So I am expecting kind of like those influxes of cash. So I'm just going to put as much money as I can from those into my FHSA. I've also decided that I'm going to basically try to tackle my financial goals more one at a time. This is something that I always struggle with my money. Like I feel like I have so many things I want to do at once. So like I want to put money in my emergency fund and I want to pay off debt, and then I want to put money in my RRSP, which is like our 401k. Then I want to put money in my TFSA, which is like our Roth. Then I want to put money, you know, into like travel fund, like all these different things, right? And if you make a normal person amount of money, obviously your funds are like limited and you kind of have to spread the wealth a little bit. But then that means that it can feel really, really slow to make progress towards your goals. It often means that each month I'm only putting like $100 or a couple $100 towards, you know, my travel fund or my emergency fund or whatever it is. And when you're doing that, it almost feels like you're not making progress at all. Like progress just feels so incrementally slow that I don't know, like for me at least, like I just don't really get satisfaction from it. I don't really get that like dopamine hit of feeling like I'm like, yeah, I just did this thing, because you're just seeing the balance creep up so slowly. And so I've been thinking about this for a while, like maybe the play is just to focus more on one thing at a time. Kind of like when you're paying off debt, right? And whether you're doing the debt snowball or you're doing the debt avalanche, like either way, I might have to actually like put on a light soon. This is getting so dark. Maybe I'll turn a lamp on and see if that helps. 1 second. Okay, did that help at all? I think it did a little bit. I also don't want to turn on my like glaring fluorescent overhead light, you know? Okay, what were we chatting about? I think I was talking about this idea of like tackling one financial goal at a time. Because right, when you're paying off debt, that's kind of how you tackle it, right? Like if you're doing debt snowball, debt avalanche, whatever, the premise is that you are generally attacking one debt at a time. Like, yes, you are paying the minimums on all of your debts, but you're really going hard at one debt at a time, whether that's your smallest debt or your highest interest debt. Either way, you're like really tackling one thing at a time. And that's really nice because that means you might be able to put $500 extra a month or $1,000 a month or more just towards that one debt. And so you make progress really quickly. Like you can get debts paid off in a couple months or 6 months. And then you're like, oh my gosh, yes. And you get that really good feeling that then motivates you to keep going and then move on to your next debt. And like, it just kind of keeps snowballing, right? And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, I think there is really a lot to be said for being able to be like very single-minded about your goals. And so I think that's what I want to do. Maybe not forever, but just for this season of my life where, you know, saving for a home has become a much more immediate goal than I thought. I am wanting to just kind of attack it with everything I have and like, let's get this account maxed out and like, let's get it maxed out as soon as possible. I'm still going to contribute to my RRSP through work, like to get the employer match. So I'm still putting towards retirement, but I think all my saving for like that I would normally put into my TFSA and things like that, I think I'm just gonna put it on hold and focus just on maxing out my FHSA as soon as I possibly can. And I would love to hear from you all in the comments. Let me know down below. How do you feel about this thing of like having multiple financial goals. Like, is that something you struggle with too? And like, I guess, how do you deal with it? Do you find that you also like to have one thing to focus on, or do you just kind of put like a little bit of money everywhere? So that is everything on that house. That was like obviously one big topic I wanted to cover. Then the other one was sort of more like looking ahead to 2025, which I've already talked about a little bit, obviously, like with the house. But I also want to chat more generally about just how I'm feeling about my money and other things that I'm, feeling going into 2025. So a few things going into 2025 that are nice. One, I finally got my tax return. Yes, I got my tax return in November, which is laughable because that's also something I made a video about in like March, and I was so cute and innocent at the time, and I thought I was gonna get my tax return like in the next week following that video. Silly me, I didn't get that money until about a week ago. I have been in this back and forth with the CRA for the last, at this point now, 7 months essentially, to get this money that was rightfully owed to me. They made an error. I filed my tax return correctly, and the refund was supposed to be several $1,000s. They changed it on my final notice of assessment, and as a result, I lost about $3,000 of my return. So I have just been going back and forth with the CRA since then and trying to get this money that is rightfully owed to me. But for any of you who have dealt with the CRA before, you know that it can be like a challenge to get a hold of people. You could often be sitting on hold for like multiple hours. This wasn't something I could do online through the portal. It just like, there was just, it was rough. And then you do like file a change or whatever, and then it takes like months to process. And this was, even the reprocessed thing was supposed to be done in August, and then it got delayed to November. So I don't know. I imagine they're short-staffed because it feels like everywhere is short-staffed and under-resourced. So I get it. But then also I'm like, I literally just needed someone to change like 2 numbers on a screen and press submit. And and I was out $3,000 for like the entire year, just waiting for them. That was a little bit stressful. Honestly, my main fear was just that it was going to carry over into 2025. I was like, I can't handle having like 2023 tax stuff still ongoing when I'm like filing my 2024 taxes. So the thought of going into like a new tax season with this still unresolved was just giving me anxiety. So I'm super happy it's resolved. And that means that because I just got that nice check from the CRA, I was able to put a huge amount of that into my first home savings account. So that was really nice to be able to make like a big lump sum contribution to that account. Otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good about my money. Like I was saying earlier in the video, this is the first time I've been debt-free in quite some time. So it feels really exciting to be able to go into a new calendar year fresh and like completely debt-free, and to put all of my income towards like my savings goals, my investment goals, and just be able to focus single-handedly on that without having debt hanging over my head. That's such a good feeling and something I'm really excited for 2025. And otherwise, I'm excited to max out my FHSA. I'm excited to make a little bit more progress towards my TFSA once I have maxed out my first home savings account. One thing that I am kind of struggling with right now, and I'd love like thoughts from you guys in the comments, is my emergency fund. Because I have emergency savings sitting around, I think about 10K. I have most of it sitting in a Wealthsimple account. And then I have a little bit of other cash like over in this other account earmarked also as kind of like emergency savings unofficially. So I have about 10K, and I think that's great. I think that's really good. And I've worked really hard to save that money up over the years, and I had to work really hard to replenish that after I was unemployed in 2022, after I changed careers and after I moved back from the States. I had all of this kind of financial burden from moving. So it's taken me time to build that emergency fund in the first place and then rebuild it after, you know, after life happened. And that's what the emergency fund is there for. That's, you know, I was really glad I had it, but it also does take some time to like replenish it if you do have to use it. I've kind of been, you know, slowly and gradually working towards that, and I'm really proud of the fact that I have this, you know, it's like 10 grand sitting there, and it does make me sleep a lot better at night knowing that I have that. But I also kind of struggle with like, I feel like I should have more saved. I feel like I'm somebody, you moving, buddy? Okay. But I also feel like I'm someone who falls into that category of like, I should probably have more saved than I do. For a few reasons, because like the advice is like 3 to 6 months of expenses, and I'm definitely on the lower end of that. 10K is like not even really 3 months of expenses for me. It's actually a little less, just because my rent is so high, my fixed expenses are so high. So 10K is like not even really 3 months of expenses. So I definitely feel like I should have more. And that's, you know, I am single. I don't have the backup of another person who can pay rent or pay bills if I lose my job. And so because I don't have that, I always just feel like a little bit more vulnerable. And then I also work in a very precarious field. Like I work in tech. You know, the layoffs the last couple of years have been really bad. And I, you know, like things with my company are okay. I think they're pretty good, but at the end of the day, like nobody ever really knows, and companies do layoffs for so many different reasons. You know, I get it happens, right? And so I just never want to take it for granted that I have a job and that I will always have a job, like, because that's just not a reality for my line of work. You know, if I worked like for government or for like a pensioned role or something, like I would maybe feel more confident and more safe. But yeah, I do always want to acknowledge that reality that my job is not the most secure, and that's fine. And I just want to plan accordingly. So because of that, I always feel like I should have more emergency savings. And also just because like I have a car, I have a dog, like I have, you know, other things that like unexpected expenses come up with a vehicle. That's happened multiple times this year already. Multiple expenses can come up with a pet. I don't know. I want to make sure I have enough. I want to make sure I'm like taken care of and that I'm ready if something happens. So I don't know, like that's the only thing I'm really kind of like worried about with my money right now, is just like, should I really be focusing on beefing up my cash reserves and putting more money into my emergency fund? But I'd be really curious to hear from you all what you think. How much of an emergency fund do you keep and that sort of thing? Cause yeah, it'd be nice to get like different perspectives on that. But yeah, but other than that, I'm like feeling really good about money, and I'm really excited about 2025. So I'm hoping to do some more fun videos coming up about how to like financially prepare for a new year, how to plan for a no spend month. But also let me know in the comments if you all have specific things that you want to see. I'm always looking for future video ideas. And yeah, and it's just like, I love hearing from you all directly. So definitely let me know if you have any thoughts. That is sort of like the life and house and money feels and 2025 goals update. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end if you're still watching, and I will see you on the next one.